What a question then. Can we know anything about God? Good question to ask at the start of the week, isn't it? Not bad. Honestly, can we know anything about God? Does he exist? Is he real or not? If he is, what's he like? Does he have a name? What does he look like? What's his character? See, whether you're a Christian in the room tonight, whether you're not, I think it's a good question just to ask for a few moments. And that's what I want to do. I just want to unpack it. As I said, the verses on the screen will just kind of guide us as we think about it a little bit. And maybe you have a concrete answer in your head and you think, yeah, I think I know it. We can know about God. Maybe you're intrigued and you want to find out more. Maybe you think, no, we can't. Maybe you're not really that bothered, but you like your mate and they invited you and you've come along anyway. We'll all have different starting points, and that's totally fine as well. But I want to unpack that now for us in the next few minutes and find out, is there an answer to that question? Can we know anything about God? We're going to be having a look at what Christians believe to be one of the kind of primary places you can find out about God. It's in the Bible. And we're going to be taking a look at these verses on the screen. They're written by a fella called John. He was a normal bloke, really, really normal fella. And he was around at the time of Jesus, his life. And he just writes about what he saw with his own eyes. And he describes some of the things that Jesus did and said as he spent his life with him. And look how he starts here in those first few words. He said, "The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only, who came from the Father." The word here, he's just using it as another name for Jesus. And he's saying Jesus became flesh. Right at the beginning of this book, of this account he has of Jesus' life, he turns around to people and he says, listen, God showed himself. God became a man. And he sent his son, Jesus, to become flesh. Flesh and bone like you and I. And he's saying that he actually walked amongst people. He hung out with people. He sat around tables and he ate with people. And he says he's one of a kind. He is the one and only. Don't think Chesney Hawk too much. He's saying, no, he's different. He's seriously different. No one has ever been like him, and he's saying no one will ever be like him. And he says he's come from a destination. See that? He's come from the Father. Jesus was not made, rather he became. And he existed before his human existence, John is saying. He was equal with God, yet he came down and revealed himself to us. And he lived amongst us. Do you see that? He dwelt among us. Us here, John is saying, is me, my mates, and in fact my readers. There would have been people reading this account of Jesus' life whilst John was still alive. So he's effectively turning around to them and saying, look, Jesus was around with you guys. And the accounts of this one text we have of Jesus' life here in John's Gospel has been copied, and it's really close. And it was produced about 40 or 50 years. The next copies we've got are past the originals, about 40 or 50 years after Jesus' life. He's saying Jesus hung out amongst us. See, here's the first claim, the big claim of the Christian faith, is that God exists. And he came down to this earth in the form of a man, and he took on skin and bones, and he lived amongst people like you and I. And he's saying his arrival is fact. All accounts, both Christian and secular accounts, testify that there was a man, his name was Jesus, and he came from Nazareth. And he stood in front of people. And if it happened today, it would be all over the news. It was fact, John is saying. But the question's got to be asked, is he God? Really? Jesus from Nazareth, is he really God? Well, I don't know how many of you are boxing fans, but you might have seen on the weekend there that there's been an announcement of a boxing match that's coming up, which is probably one of the biggest boxing matches in a very long time between two very good boxers. There's Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Manny Pacquiao. Floyd Mayweather Jr. has never lost any of his 47 professional fights. Manny Pacquiao has only lost 5 out of 64 professional fights. So they're decent. They're not bad. And it's a pretty big deal, this fight. It's said to make about $250 million. And it's said that all the viewing figures are going to be absolutely smashed. Now, I don't know what you think about boxing, but you gotta love it and at the same time hate it, haven't you? The run-up to the boxing match with some of the chat that comes out of their mouths. Have a look at what Floyd Mayweather said on the weekend, alright, about this match. This is what he said. What the world has been waiting for has arrived. This will be the biggest event in the history of sport. Boxing fans and sports fans around the world will witness greatness on May 2nd. He's saying apparently all of you have been waiting for this moment. That's what he's just said. And he's saying that the world of sport is going to be the biggest event that's ever happened. Forget any Olympics, forget any World Cup final. In fact, forget anything that's happened up until the 2nd of May in 2015, because this is going to be the biggest event you'll ever see. And apparently, you're going to witness greatness. What a claim, eh? That's nuts! What a claim! You're going to witness greatness. He's saying, tune in your TV on the 2nd of May and watch 2 fellas punch each other in the face and you will see greatness personified. That's essentially what he's just said in that statement. You will witness greatness on the 2nd of May. And you better back it up, because it'll cost us about 30 quid probably on pay-per-view. Is some claim to make, isn't it? See, at the beginning here in our verses, John not only tells us who God is, and not only does he tell us where he comes from, but now he starts to tell us what he's like. Do you see that? I'll read it again. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. John says here that he's glorious, that he's full of grace, and that he's full of truth. See, whether you believe in Jesus or not, his presence on this earth was very different to any other human being that's been on this earth up until today. And John says that he shows the glory, in his words, of the one and only who came from the Father. What he's saying in that statement is that Jesus shows the glory of the God of the universe. The God of the universe that the Bible claims created the galaxies, of one of which we're part of billions of galaxies. The Bible claims that the God of the universe created the things we see around us, the beauty of the countryside. The Bible claims that God created human beings like you and I, knitted us together. Human beings that can function and have bodies that can do remarkable bits of healing and can flourish and push themselves in different ways. John is saying in this moment that this guy Jesus reveals that God in all his glory. And he says that he's full of grace, and he says that he's full of truth. See, this guy Jesus was different. If you check out the life of him in this account and you read it on, why not take it away this week and have a read of it? You'll see that his life was remarkably different. He was full of grace. He was full of goodness. He was so kind and caring and compassionate and considerate. People used to hang around with him and be like, whoa, this guy's different. He actually loves people. Like really, really loves people. And John says here he's full of truth. He spoke sense. He knew answers to questions all the time. He had integrity. He spoke with truthfulness. He's saying he's different. This guy Jesus revealed God's glory. He's some guy, isn't he? According to what John's saying here. He is really some guy. And if you check it out, you'll see it's different. Here's essentially what he's saying. Want to see God? Look at Jesus. We want to see God in all his fullness. Look at Jesus, because he is full of the characteristics of God. He's glorious, he's gracious, and he's full of truth. Now I know as I say that, there will be some in the room who will go, That is almost as ridiculous as Floyd Mayweather Jr. Really? I mean, that is a ridiculous comment to make, that this one guy was full of glory, grace and truth. Surely, surely not. Well, I want to say he was different. He wasn't just a decent boxer who had a pretty decent bank balance and could have a little bit of verbal chat with people. He was slightly different. And hence why his arrival on the earth was, again, slightly different. See, just imagine for a moment the Queen came to campus tomorrow. How would you expect her to arrive on campus? You wouldn't expect her to come on her own in her trackies and a hoodie, would you? Just wander through campus? No, it would be a massive event if she turned up, wouldn't it? There'd be the press, there'd be the security, there'd be the flashy car, she'd come out, she'd have some dress on and people are buzzing about. You know, she might have her dogs with her. The place would be kicking off. Because the Queen's arrived. And in a way we expect that to happen, don't we? Not only because of who she is, but where she comes from. She's from Buckingham Palace. She's the head of the monarchy. She's ruled over Britain for umpteen amount of years and in the monarchy for I don't know how long. I don't know my history very well. She's different. And therefore her arrival is different. And we expect it. To some degree. It's a pretty big deal if the Queen came here tomorrow. And whether you're a royalist or not, you might admit it would be a big deal if the Queen came to Bath Uni tomorrow. But see what John's saying here? The Queen's not coming. He's saying God's coming. God is stepping down onto planet Earth. And I want to say, if you could imagine God arriving on Earth, then maybe this isn't that far-fetched. You'd expect it to be different, wouldn't you? See, could this man really be God on earth? Could Jesus really be God? And can that show us something about him? I've got a little niece coming up 3 this summer. Her name's Isla. Her dad's Scottish, so she's got a cracking little Scottish name, Isla McIntosh. My wife and I, we don't get to see her that much. They live in Cardiff, so my sister and my brother-in-law live in Cardiff, and we obviously now live in Oxford. So we don't see her as much as we'd like to, but whenever we do see her, it is really good fun. She's an absolute rascal. We love her to bits, and she's just this ball of energy. She just wants to play games, run around. She's busy from the moment you walk through the door. But every time we go back, there's one game that Isla loves to play. And she asks straight away, pretty much as soon as we walk in, you'll all know it, the classic solid game of hide and seek. She loves it. She absolutely loves it. So you know how it works when you play. You obviously have to hide and the other person finds it. Now I'm a sportsman and I'm competitive and I like to win. So it's brilliant when you play against a 2-year-old. See? So what happens when we play against each other is, normally she goes, right, Uncle Dave, you hide and I'll count. So I go and hide in a really hard place, obviously, and she'll count to 10, and then she'll come out and she'll start looking for me, and she'll keep looking, and she's struggling a little bit. So then she goes and calls one of the adults into the room, which personally I think is cheating, but we let her off, and she finds me, and then she's buzzing and all excited and jumping around. And then she goes, let's play again, let's play again. You hide again, but this time, Uncle Dave, you hide there. She doesn't quite get it, see. She's getting there, but she's only 2.5. So we go, let's play again then, go on then. So we play, and she counts to 10, and guess what she does? She runs straight to where she tells me to hide, and funny enough, I'm there, and then we burst out, and she's thrilled with herself, because she's found me. She really wanted to find me. And then we swap it over. So she goes, right, Uncle Dave, I'll hide and you count. So she goes off and she runs. And I don't know if you've ever had to do the counting, if you've got a little niece or a little brother or sister or something like that, and you have to do the counting, don't you? So you count to 10, and then you go, ready or not, here I come. Which is quite a harsh way to start any game, isn't it, really? Ready or not, I don't care, I'm starting. But then you go, don't you? You get on the hunt. So you're walking around and you do the classic thing, don't you? Is she under the table? No. Is she under the blanket? No. You know, you do it. You commentate. Why do we do that? You commentate as you go in and you're walking around the room. And then you do the classic, has anybody seen Isla? And with that, this giggle comes from behind the curtain. And he's like shaking like this. And you clock it. And you go, no, I wonder where she is. And you keep going and going until the suspense is too much. She can't hold it in. And she bursts open behind the curtain. She goes, I'm here! And she runs on up to me and she jumps on me and she gives me a massive hug. See, she wants to be found. She really, really wants to be found. And the same is here with God, see? He wants to be found. He's not kind of hiding somewhere in the universe, giggling at us as we scratch our heads. No, he bursts onto the earth and he says, look, I'm here. I want to know you. I want to have a relationship with you. That's what God does. He's not hiding. It's not a game of hide and seek with God. And John's saying here that his life has come as a difference to anything anyone else has ever seen. See, if you did watch Floyd Mayweather versus Pacquiao, it might make a little bit of difference to your life. I mean, you might be thrilled off it for a few months. And if the Queen came tomorrow, who knows, you might get a photo with her, or she might photobomb you, and you'll put it on your wall, and you'd be thrilled for a few years, and you'd tell people. But honestly, what relevance does it have to your life? John says here that Jesus' arrival on earth has every relevance to you and I tonight. Look what he says, verse 16, at the end there. Out of his fullness, we have all received grace in place of grace already given. Or on that one there, for out of his fullness, we have all received grace upon grace. John is saying here that out of Jesus' fullness, we can all receive grace. See, we don't know this world to be any different to what we experience, do we? I mean, we turn on the news and we see some really rubbish stuff, don't we? But then at the same time, there's some great things going on. Some people are doing some awesome stuff in the world. We don't know it to be any different. You see, the Bible explains that God really does know things to be very different. And what he sees right now is not how it was originally designed to be. The Bible says that God created the world. And he created everything in it. And he created it good. And he created it in a way that it flourishes and it functions. And he actually created it so that there was no bad news to report. And the Bible says that he created you and me. He created us very good. He created us to be in a relationship with him. He created us so that we could know him. In God's original creation, this question tonight wouldn't exist. We wouldn't ask this kind of a question because we'd know the answer to it. See, God knows things to be very different to what we see now. Yet, despite this good design and this perfect setup, the first created human beings and every human being ever since has unfortunately taken that good design and it has changed. And it's changed in the way that people live, and it's changed in the way that people say things, and it's changed in the way that people feel about life and about God himself. See, I don't know many of you in the room at all. Most of you don't know me. But if I was to hazard a guess, if you're anything like me, then you've probably done a few things in your life that actually you wish you never did, hey? I mean, you know the kind of stuff. I do it all the time. I say stuff I wish I never said. I think stuff I can't believe I think sometimes. And I do stuff I wish I just had never ever done. If I was to list to you right now, even my last week, honestly, I'm not even just saying this, if I list to you my last week, everything I thought, said and did, I'd be quite embarrassed right now. And I would be full of shame. See, it only takes a bit of honest reflection, doesn't it? For just a moment to admit that to maybe be true of yourself. And where this becomes an issue is that it's not the way God created it to be. See, as we live our lives now and as we make these mistakes, and yes, we have those highs, but at the same time as we have those lows, what in fact we're doing at that moment is we're rejecting God's good design for life. And as we reject his good design for life, we actually end up rejecting him. And we break that good relationship that we had between us and him. And whether it's intentional, whether it's not, whether it's conscious, whether it's subconscious, it's a really serious matter. And God sees it, and He knows the whole situation. So just imagine for a moment, if you can, what it might be like from God's perspective. So we've all had this, haven't we, where you go over to a mate's house for their birthday or something, and you're all having drinks in the house, or you go out to the pub or something, and it's a drinks, and you don't know that many people in the room, but it's your mate and you like them, so you think, well, I'll go on down, I'll get to know people. So you're chatting away to people, and you come across this one person who seems quite nice. They're bubbly, they're outgoing, and you think, oh, well, I can chat to them for a little bit of the evening. So you're chatting away, and you're chatting away, and you're chatting away, and about 2-3 minutes goes, and they've not asked you your name, but you're on to like the name of the family dog. But you think, oh, okay, that's okay. And you keep chatting, and you're chatting, but then 20 minutes goes past, and they've still not asked you a single question, yet you're hearing about their holiday plans in 3 years' time. And after a while you start to think, so you think, well, I've got to somehow try and break the conversation up. So you grab a drink and pour to see if it does break their flow of conversation. And you pour the drink, and they turn around and they go, oh, thanks so much. Oh, sorry, I didn't catch your name. You go, Dave. And they go, oh, thanks so much, Dave. All right, all the best. And then they walk off. You think, how rude, don't you? You gutted. You think, I don't want to talk to them for the rest of the night. We hate it when that happens to us. Yeah, see, this is exactly how the Bible describes what we've done with God. We've lived in His good design, yet we've lived without really showing Him any respect. And the Bible is saying that He sees us how we really are. He sees us quite rude, and He sees us quite self-centered. Yet look now with me, one last time, at just how much God has done for us and how He treats us. Look at what it says again at the end. Out of Jesus' fullness, we have all received grace. See, here's the heart of the Christian faith. I have, and if you're willing to admit, you have rejected God. And quite rightly, we deserve some sort of a punishment for the consequences, don't we? The consequences of that, it has to be dealt with in some sort of degree. And in fact, the Bible is quite clear on this. It says if we continue to live separate from God, He'll honour that. He really will. And a day will come where we'll stand before Him, and if we've chosen to not live with Him, He'll send us to a place where we won't live with Him again. I mean, why would you, if you spent your whole life living without Him, want to then go into heaven? Because that's where He is. So He says, no, I'll honour that choice, and I'll send you to a place where I no longer exist. But the issue is in that moment is that where a place where God no longer exists is a place where no goodness, no happiness, no love, no joy exists whatsoever. And Jesus says that day will come. But in the same breath it says this, that despite that rejection, God loves you to bits. He sees you and He loves you to bits. So much so that He was prepared to come down to this earth, and He was prepared to offer Himself completely so that you might be able to find forgiveness, and so that you might be able to have a life with Him. See all the rubbish stuff we do, all the stuff that I regret? Jesus turns around and He says, look, I'm going to take a punishment for that for you. And if you read on to John's account of his life, this is at the very beginning, obviously chapter 1, if you read all the way through, you'll soon see that Jesus finishes His life in His 30s by being beaten up and hanging on a cross. Because in that act, He is saying, I am taking the punishment for the sins of you and for the sins of the world, so that anyone might be able to find forgiveness, and so that anyone might be able to receive a life with Him the way He designed it to be. Can you imagine that feeling just for a moment? Oh, no more guilt, no more shame, no more embarrassment. Complete forgiveness, wiped clean, brand new status. And a new life with the God of the universe, who knows you, who loves you, who's got a plan for you, who says, look, no matter how high or how low you go, I'm absolutely with you through the lot, and nothing changes it. This is what Jesus achieved on the cross. And it was out of his grace that he did it. Because I don't deserve it. No chance. Yet he offers it to us. What an offer, hey? What an offer. See, do you want to see greatness? Well, don't tune in your TV to Floyd Mayweather. Please don't. Look to the cross. Because there on the cross you will see the greatest act of love the world has ever seen. And please know that it's been done for you. It really has. It's been done as an impact for you today. You really can come to know the God of the universe. Can we know anything about him? John says yes. And do you see how he puts it? We have all received grace. It's actually available for all people. Whether you've never considered this before, maybe you've been thinking about it for a while, it's for all people. Whether you think you're too good, too bad, whether you want it, whether you don't right now, this is available for all people. And he says it's there to be received. It's a gift. This is the remarkable thing about the Christian faith. It's got nothing about what you do. It's all about what Jesus has done. And it's a gift, he says, that is ready to be received. Can we know anything about God then? Really? Can we honestly know anything about God? The Bible says a big fat yes, you can. He came down from earth in the form of a man. And he was full of God's glory. He was full of God's grace. And he's full of God's truth. And it's not like a game of hide and seek with him. He jumps out in front of our lives and he says, look, I'm here. And he stands with his arms wide open. And he says, come and receive this gift of grace for yourself. Here's my question to you. Will you receive it? Will you receive this gift of grace? Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. If you do, I actually just want to give you a chance to receive it right now. So I'm going to say a little prayer. It's only a little prayer. And it's just a prayer for you to be able to pray for yourself if you want to. If you don't want to, absolutely no problem. Just zone out for a few minutes. That's totally fine. But if you do, I'm going to pray a prayer which acknowledges the fact that we've got it wrong. Which believes in what Jesus has done and which commits to following him. So why don't we just close our eyes, bow our head, just to respect anyone who does want to do it, to not make them feel a bit isolated. And if you do want to make this commitment, I'm going to pray, and why don't you follow it in your head? Dear God, thank you so much for revealing yourself to us and coming down to this earth. I'm sorry for the times in my life that I have rejected you and I've lived against your good design. Thank you that you sent your one and only Son, Jesus, to die so that I could be forgiven for my sin and so that I could come back to you. I commit to trust in you with my life today and from this day forward. Amen.